You mentioned nuclear power as part of the mix, and I know that's part of your background. And I know you know of the significant challenges that we face moving towards more nuclear in our society. There is limited uranium. When you do full cost accounting, it's a very expensive option, and there's the issue of nuclear waste. So do you see those obstacles as things we can overcome with further research and development in this area?
Well, nuclear already has an option that doesn't make the constraint of uranium a big deal. We know how to build breeder reactors. They exist today in France and in Japan, and they actually make the supply of uranium we have today last for hundreds of years. So the actual supply isn't the problem. The problem is that reprocessing generates weapons-grade plutonium. And so it makes the proliferation problem worse. And the problem is compounded because breeder reactors, and in fact our fleet of reactors today, are very expensive. And so even before you get to the proliferation problems, we have an issue that nuclear power is simply too expensive to build out on its own. Now, all energy technologies are subsidized one way or another, but the subsidies required to make nuclear a larger player than it is today are astronomical. In fact, of the 103 nuclear reactors we have in this country operating today, all of those plants will need to be retired in the next 3 decades. So just replacing our current fleet, not even keeping up with demand growth, but just keeping that amount of energy generation in the mix, is one that we right now don't have the engineering capacity to do. So just keeping our current fleet going for the next many decades is already going to be a huge challenge, to say nothing of the problems of proliferation and of the cost issues. The last thing on nuclear, though, is that plans to think about phasing it out because of sort of worries over proliferation probably are a losing game in the following way. The nuclear power we have today has already generated a lot of waste. Much of that is sitting in spent fuel pools or in some temporary depositories waiting to go to our single long-term one, Yucca Mountain. It's not even open yet. If we were to zero nuclear out of the mix, we don't make our waste problem that much better because we have all this waste to deal with already, and we make the greenhouse gas problem far worse. So nuclear is probably at least going to stay where it is today in the mix, but if we can expand it is really the question. And nuclear proponents want to do that, and nuclear opponents say it's too risky and it's too expensive. So we're in a strange position where the dialogue around nuclear isn't really going anywhere. We don't have a clear direction that is just waiting for policy or funding. It's really a clash of ideologies right now.